Well, screw-ups at work, my mistakes. Or we can call this video Dumb and Dumber. Mistake number one, they gave me 2 orders and I see it's all scaffolding. Like, holy moly. It's a bunch of frames, a bunch of decks, and not just that, but a lot of small parts, like casters, safety rails of different length, like 5 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet. Then something like 30-inch something, which looked like outriggers. So basically lots and lots of stuff, and they all slightly different. So 2 orders, right, for delivery. And I go deliver one, and I pack these big, they're like a triangle frame, they're outriggers, right? So they're connected to the bottom of the frame, and then they kind of like spread out, right? So if you go too high, so these outriggers give you more stability, but you have to put something like either a caster, like a wheel, or a platform, like kind of like a leg in there, right? But when I saw 30-inch, I didn't read very carefully the rest of that item description, and turns out the guy just wanted 30-inch safety rail. So basically like a pipe with holes on the end so that it can be connected. So it's like just 30 inches safety rail, because he ordered narrow frame, so that safety rail is used kind of like to go across, again, to give him stability, because he says they're doing some roofing work and it's very tight in there. So they didn't order a regular 5x5 frames, they ordered 5 feet by 30 inches, and that's why they wanted 30-inch safety rail. And so we're unloading, and I start passing to the guy these huge frames, outriggers, because they are 30-inch outriggers. And the customer says, I don't think I ordered these. And I'm like, hold on, 30-inch. And he says, I showed it to him on the paperwork, and he says, I ordered 30-inch safety rails. These are outriggers. And he shows me how they would be connected, and I'm like, Semyonich, I said, I'm sorry. And he said, well, it's okay, as long as you get them to me before noon tomorrow. He says, I'm not gonna start working until noon tomorrow. So that was one mistake. So then later, actually, I was doing another delivery, and that delivery was right 5 minutes away from this place where I failed to deliver the safety rails. So dispatch told me to, drop them off, because it was so close. And the guy was not there, but I saw where he put the scaffolding inside the gate of this construction site, so I just left him there and sent him a text. I said, okay, safety rails dropped off at 4 p.m. But that was one blunder I made. And then the other blunder, so again, I still have the second order on my truck, right? Remember I said how everything was so confusing, there was so many parts in there. So I'm lucky that I screwed up only one on that order. And so the second order, so now I have a whole bunch of frames, the 7-foot long decks, at least not 10-footers, but 7-foot decks, a bunch of casters, safety rails. And I look at the paperwork to see, where they want it to be dropped, because quite often at the top there it'll say, put behind the fence, or go in the back alley, stuff like that, or house on the corner. There's some nice helpful information there. And I look at this, and it says drop off near the construction site trailer, like an office trailer, but then below that it says pick up in the same location. Like, wait, because usually what happens is that when they deliver, when it's a delivery order, right? So they give you instructions, and then when you're going for a pickup, they reprint the same order, except below they say, where the pickup is. Pick up where you drop off before. And so I look at this and it says pickup, right? Under the drop. And then I move my eyes to the top of the page where it tells you the type of movement. Like the first one said delivery, right? This one says pickup. So I spent probably extra half an hour loading the frames, the decks, the safety rail. So, and turns out, you know, that's why I said this movie is gonna be called Dumb and Dumber. That's why dumb people have to work harder than smart people, you know. I don't know. I think I had a couple of coffees, you know. I don't know why I was so slow today. But anyway, so I preloaded what I was supposed to pick up. Can you believe this? So created for myself extra work. And then I drove to Balzac, just north of, you know, Cross Iron Mills over there, the big mall. Lots of construction is going on over there. And found the scaffolding, and the guy is looking, and I said, yeah, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I have inside exactly what you're giving me. And so I had to make room because it was the same, like 6 5x5 frames, but again, the decks were only 7 footers, so they fit perfectly inside the 8-foot long bed, so you don't have to, you know, put them on the tailgate. You don't need any straps, right? Because 10 footers you have to load them like this, you know, on top of the, like the rear sticks out, and so of course you have to put some straps over it, but these just lie inside the bed, you know. But again, there was so much stuff, and then when I came back to the yard, I told dispatcher, I said, I'm sorry, I screwed up. And I said, with the hope, I said, are we doing any deliveries tomorrow of similar scaffolding? Because, you know, quite often this is what happens, like when at the end of the day, or anyway, like in the middle of the day, like when you bring scaffolding, I made that mistake twice. Like I unloaded everything, and then I went inside, talked to dispatch, and he gives me the order, and it's scaffolding. Basically, I pretty much had the same stuff already. So, you know, they're too busy. They cannot tell you, you know, don't unload, because you're going out pretty much with the same stuff, you know. Well, you know, let's say you brought 7-foot decks, a bunch of frames, but this next guy wants 10-foot long decks, but same frames, maybe about a couple of extra frames. So it makes it much easier when you already have scaffolding, right? And so I made that mistake twice. Twice I did extra job, Dumb and Dumber. And hold on, I was fishing for DoorDash. Let me see, they're offering me something. DoorDash offered me a Kinjo, you know, the sushi place, $12, and I'm sitting right next to this Kinjo, so there's no deadhead, but it's $12, and the total distance is 14 kilometers going west, kind of like away from my home. Like right now I'm 7 kilometers away from my home, and so if I go 14 kilometers west and there's nothing there, then I have to drive 21 kilometers back. So I just declined. But so yeah, anyway, so now I know that when you bring scaffolding, I never unload unless I check with dispatch, right? And so this huge load of scaffolding, half of which was totally unnecessary because I made a mistake, right? I went inside and I said, are we having any deliveries in the morning? And he looked at the paperwork for the next day, for tomorrow, and he says, well, we already set aside like 4 frames, 5x5, but we don't need anything else, so unload. And I said, everything? And he says, yeah, sorry, everything. So what was it, like 6 frames? Yeah, it was like 6 on each side of the truck. So it was 12 these heavy frames, 5x5, 10 7-foot long decks, and then a bunch of safety rails, you know, 5-foot long, 7 foot long, and then some 7-foot long braces. But I was done probably within 15 minutes, you know. Like these short decks are easy to deal with. And I went back, I said, done. And that's when he gave me the last run of the day. I delivered like a portable generator. You know, not like a tow behind type, but much smaller, but still very heavy. But it has 2 wheels and handles, and you just lift it and put it on the tailgate. And I delivered it to the same place where I was in the morning. Like those guys, they rented this generator, and turns out the machine they're using requires much more power. Because I was at first confused that, you know, it's the same place, right? And I see they have the generator, and I said, you know, sometimes there's an issue and you do an exchange, but I look at my paperwork, no, there's no exchange. So basically they want to rent another generator exactly the same. And of course we're supposed to do curbside delivery, so I called the guy because I don't see anybody there. Mustang Cobra, it says in the back, Cobra. Very wide tires, probably 305s. So I called the guy and he says, I said, are you okay with me leaving it here outside the gate? It was like in the back alley behind the houses. And he says, oh, could you maybe move it inside and park it next to the one we already have? And I look inside, it's like maybe 20-25 feet away from the fence, and it's dirt, you know. I said okay, so I made the customer happy. I dragged that heavy generator. It's probably, I'm guessing, 120 130 pounds. It feels like 2 of my kettlebells, 70 times 2, like 140. You know. And then of course they ask me how to start it, you know. That's why I always double check with guys in the shop, make sure that I know how to start the machine, because quite often customers they order it, I'm guessing, over the phone or via the internet, so they're not exactly sure how the stuff works. So yeah, so that was my day today. A couple of mistakes, but not too bad. And then yeah, when I delivered this generator, I also had these 30-inch safety rails, so I just left the guy a voicemail because he was not there. So I said, I saw where you dropped, where you put the scaffolding near the fence there inside the construction site. So I put my hard hat on, just walk inside and drop them off next to the stuff I delivered earlier, like decks and frames. And then I sent him a message. I said, safety rails dropped off. So the guy should be happy. Oh, and one interesting machine I had today was very weird looking, you know, tiller. It's called tiller. Also has 2 handles, a body with a small Honda engine, and then it has a till at the bottom so they can, you know, work on the dirt. Oh, and interesting story there. The address is like the building number and the street. So I assumed it was a house because, again, most of our deliveries are small machinery, and it's usually just construction at a house, not industrial construction, you know. And I go there and Google says, you've arrived. Your destination is on the right. I look to my right and it's a townhouse complex. You know, it's not one building, but it's 3 or 4 buildings, and it's all townhouses. So I sat there, tried to call the guy, he's not answering his phone. I left him voicemail, and then I thought, wait, sometimes I know townhouses have their own numbers, like independent numbers, you know. And so I drove inside. No, townhouses are just numbered from 100. You know, I see one building has 100 number, like 101, 102, 103. Another building starts with 2, you know, 200, 201, 202, up to 500. But there's no I think the building was like 5040 5040. So that's the address for the entire complex. And I called dispatch and said, do you have any other numbers? Because I tried both of the numbers on my paperwork, nobody's answering. And then he was calling me back when my phone rang, like another line. And this guy says, hey, I see you. Sorry, I left my phone in my truck. Are you in a big pickup truck? I said, yeah. And he said, okay, follow me. I'll show you where to drop it off. And so turns out that was the correct place. So looks like the land, like the grounds around these townhouses, they needed some work, you know. They needed this tiller, so the ground had to be tilled, whatever the expression is. So I dropped it off, and again the guy says, how to start it? I said, well, it just, you know, Honda, just pull it, use the choke, easy. Well, when I was leaving, I saw smoke coming out of the exhaust, so they started the machine, and I'm guessing they'll be having some fun in there. I told them not to have too much fun, you know? So anyway, that was my day at work. So Wednesday, so tomorrow is the payday. Yes, I'm super happy. And then Friday, and now that we have a part-time driver, I don't have to work Saturdays. Like, I have a schedule, and Saturdays it shows that I'm like optional, not essential. Before it said E, essential, now it just says O. So if they need me, they'll tell me Friday that, yeah, if you know, if they want me, I can come in for a couple of hours. And still no news on the taxi business. And we have another order from DoorDash. It says go to Casa Catrina, which is like a Mexican place. So I'm gonna finish this video and I'm gonna check the DoorDash. Thanks for watching.